Hey there, welcome to Her Truth Revealed, Unraveling Our Midlife Era. I'm your host, Wonderful Morrison. This space is for the woman who's done pretending, done hiding, and ready to step fully into her truth. Midlife isn't about fading into the background. It's a time where resilience lights the way and authenticity becomes the loudest voice in the room. In this season of our lives, we are more than just survivors. We are creators, revolutionaries, and unapologetic women rewriting the rules. I've been through my battles, rebuilding from loss, betrayal, and heartache. But here's the truth. Every challenge, every tear, and every setback has led me to this moment of profound transformation. Together, we're going to dive into raw, real conversations that shatter stereotypes, tackle the tough stuff, and embrace the powerful magic that is midlife. So, if you're ready to live this chapter with boldness and joy, hit subscribe. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it and leave a review so we can keep this revolution going. Ladies, no more masks, no more apologies, just the truth of who we are. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of Her Truth Revealed, Unraveling Our Midlife Era. This podcast is all about conversations with some of the most amazing women I have come across to share their stories of owning their truth, owning their journey, and what that looks like on the other side now that we are in our midlife. Because when you're in it, when you're in the eye of the storm, you can't piece it together to save your life. You have no words, you're just in it. And so we're here to impart our wisdom to all of you who might be in it right now, who are starting the first initial steps into the struggles. And today I have an amazing guest. I met her through this amazing networking experience, and she is here to talk to us about this beautiful thing called Godfidence. I had to say it a few times too to say. And what it really is it's like I want us, as you're listening, to take out of context religion. I want you to take out the context of perceived notions, ideas, perceptions about health and wellness. And I want you to listen in on it from your heart and your soul and the spiritual realm in which life exists, y'all. It's a real thing. Like, we can't ignore this. And how she puts it into words is called Godfidence, which is taking this idea of something greater than ourselves that she happens to call God. It could be named in any direction you want to. We're not forcing this on you, okay? And then taking the triumphs and struggles and tribulations of life and giving us confidence in it through a higher power. So that is the conversation today. Welcome, my friend Cami. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for accepting the invitation for this conversation.
So and enjoy you. I appreciate it. Anytime I can just share and encourage people, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. If
yes.
I've been through enough stuff, and I know that it's worth sharing and encouraging and inspiring people.
Well, my first conversation with you was very inspiring and eye-opening because you shared sort of a time in your life that when you said it, I thought, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. So can you take us back to that story that when we first met during your early stages of motherhood and your marriage that sort of inspired your journey to this health and wellness space?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe we were chatting about what I kindly refer to as Hell Week. um, I got married and was enjoying, just motherhood. And we had been married for about 8 years. I was pregnant with number 4. My oldest was 4. And yeah. And so I was pregnant with number 4. And I just had a really crazy week. I had noticed prior to that my relationship with my husband we were kind of drifting apart emotionally. And I was grieving that and wanting to re-engage. And every conversation, it got diverted. And obviously, we had a lot of distraction going on in the household. So some of that was valid, and some of it, he just very actively shut down conversations that he didn't want to have. So I was grieving that entering this week, but I was also in my faith journey. I was trucking through reading the Bible. And this is where what you believe and what you think about really can ground you, or it can toss you and you don't know which way's up. And so this week activities really shook me to my core, and I had to choose what I believe. And so the day before one major event, I started reading the book of Job. And I'm so thankful I did and I believe it wasn't an accident. I don't believe in accidents like this. I really do believe that God was leading me to these words. But what the story is that there's this man who was very faithful. And the story is told in the very beginning of the chapter that he was rich and he had 10 kids and a wife. He was righteous and he lived in a good life. And then all these things started happening to him. So he had one servant come running to him and saying, all of your crops all of your flocks were stolen. And I'm the only, and they took all the servants with them, all the shepherds, and everybody is gone from you. I'm the only one that from left. And before he finished telling his story, somebody else came in and said, I'm sorry, all your kids were partying it up at one of their houses, and the roof caved in and they're all gone. They're all dead. I'm sorry, I'm the only one that's left. And then before he finished, and somebody else came. And so this disaster after happened. And the thing that he came out of his mouth, and he goes, well, and of course he was grieving. He was sad. He tore his clothes, all the things. He was not happy, but he said, naked I came into this world and naked I came out. I'll leave because we can't take it with us when we die. Right. And he goes, and yet God is good. And I was like, I think that would have been my response.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that, and I'm so thankful that I got that context. I got that perspective, because the next day, my toddler son was abused by my neighbor in my own home while I was gone from the room in about 2 minutes. And so if I didn't have that perspective, I mean, yes, I did want to kill her. Yeah. I did want to, I had
all the human things, right? Yeah.
But once I got her out of my house, once I, called my husband, all the things, I could still have the perspective, okay, yes, he has some bruising. Yes, he has some injuries. Yes, but he's still here. I still have my 3 children and still pregnant. I have a home to live in. It could be worse.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful. And God is good. Doesn't mean that God isn't good because this bad thing happened. So, okay, so that was Wednesday. Then Monday of the following week, my husband told me that he was an atheist, and that just shattered me. It just shook me to my core. We thought we were believing the same thing, and then he took a 180-degree a hard turn. And he had said, he presented it to me. I had been this way for a while. I just didn't want to tell you because I thought it would hurt you. And I'm like, but I thought we were supposed to be best friends and talk about everything, and that hurt worse almost than the change in faith, right? Beliefs. So that began a journey where I had this crazy lady living across the street from me. I'm pregnant and you know how that goes with the emotions and everything. My own husband, I don't even know. And he's trying to convince me that I'm wrong for my faith. And it was a very, very challenging season. But I did have to choose. Either I believe I either have to believe who God is and what this whole thing is or not. Because so that started my Godfidence journey. That started my confidence journey. And so I had to choose to believe that what was in the Bible was true. And I chose to believe that God is the author of creation. I chose to believe that I'm created. So if I'm believing that, then I go to the Bible for truth and strength. And what I find in there is that he is good and he is loving and he says he's truth and he says he gives me strength. He says he protects me. He says he provides for me. I want all that stuff in my life, right?
Yeah.
And then what does he say about me? And this is where what I loved and what I value, he says that I'm valuable. He says he delights in me, that I don't even have to do anything. That's unconditional love. I don't have to do anything and he already loves me. And I want all that.
Yes.
Value.
Well, and I think it's fair for us to, we prepared everyone about this conversation and not to put it so heavily into religion or your opinions about the word God. Right? Because I think we need to be, to own our truth is to tell our story without any hindrance of what it is for us. And, I feel like so many times people will say to me before we do these interviews, like, okay, well, I don't know where your faith is. And I'm like, you don't need to know. I need your truth. Wherever mine is where mine is, wherever yours is yours is. And I think that is the best place to start because it really adds a lot of substance to then the ongoing story, right? Because then you had this, what I want to hear more about what brought you into the health and wellness. And what really captured my ears when you were telling me the story initially is your daughter was struggling through something I have struggled with my entire young life and didn't piece it together until you said it. And I was like, my gosh, that puts a lot of things into perspective. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us where this marriage ended up and why health and wellness became your focus.
Absolutely. Well, health and wellness has always been a focus in my life as I have wanted to be all in. So all in my parenting, all in my life. And so that's my mom did that. I had a great example of that with my parents, but being all in holistically helping guide these young people to adulthood. And so one of the many things that I did was try to raise my kids with a holistic approach, like what the food that we put in our bodies, the things that we put on our bodies, all of those things. But that became even more important when my daughter had eczema. All my kids had cradle cap when they were little. But they all outgrew it except her. And the cradle cap turned into eczema, turned into all of these it seemed like it was going to be lifelong concerns and issues. And so I did the due diligence with the doctor, the pediatrician. We did some prick allergy testing thing. That wasn't super helpful. Through my journey, one of my nephew's wife actually referred me to a book that was incredibly helpful. And it was called Healing the Childhood Epidemics. And it was about autism, ADD, asthma, and something else. But asthma and eczema are two different, are like sisters. They're like similar.
Interesting.
And so I was reading this fantastic book by the doctor, and that was part of it. So that was my journey of what I put on her body, what I put in the body, and releasing toxins from the body, all of those things. Everything that we did was helpful, but it never completely cleared it up. And along the same time, my marriage was very challenging, and we had good times and we had not so good times. But what got me to this point of really realizing that we are mind, body, and spirit, and with the physiological effects of what you think and what you believe and what you perceive as truth affects your health. And so it was the last year and a half of my marriage with my husband living in the home, and it was bad. It was really hard. And we didn't do a ton of fighting in front of the children, the kids, but you could,
Attention.
you attention, you feel it. It's terrible. It was awful, but you think you're doing fine, just muddling through.
Yeah.
It's awful, but you think you're protecting your kids from all this. But my daughter, I have 4 kids, and she's my second born, and she soaked in that stress, and she knew and she felt it. And in her mind and in her body, she was going to battle for mama. She perceived, that was her perception, that I needed help being defended, and that she was going to battle for mama in her body. And it came out as eczema. But it was eczema, and then a few days later it would break out into a staph infection. Then we would get her some some antibiotics to help kill the staph infection. To this day, she has PTSD from smelling tea tree oil because I was trying to treat it naturally. She hates tea tree oil.
No.
So anyways, we were in that cycle. She would be free and clear for a few days, and then it would clear, and then it would come back again with a vengeance. And so we're doing all these things that we think are healthy and trying to help her. And then what happens when the last straw that breaks the camel's back, and we separated. And when he left the home, her skin cleared up about 2 months later. That was it.
Just sort of like a magical, oh, did we try something different? Did we do something new?
No.
So when you shared that story, that piece, like I could really get behind I used to get eczema as a kid so bad that I couldn't go to school. Right, because it would turn into like open sores and things like gross. I know it sounds gross,
And
but
painful.
that's what it was.
And
Yes, painful. It was hard to do anything physically, even to touch it because it was so raw. And when you had said that, how it cleared up after your husband left, I thought, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Since moving away from my volatile experience of my childhood, which is my father, it never came back. Like it maybe showed up once when I was pregnant, but it was because I didn't know I was. And, just that my body was just experiencing this thing called growing a human. But since then, I have not had it as bad as I was a kid. But I never pieced it together. I just thought I outgrew it. Come on, people, if you're growing something, that's usually before you get into the 5th grade. I didn't outgrow it till I was in my 20s. When you said that, I thought, oh my gosh, that really puts in perspective how much our nervous system, our cellular body is affected by our emotional experiences.
Absolutely.
So then this is the trajectory, the catalyst that pushes you into the health and wellness world. So tell us a little bit deeper of how you piece that together. Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't immediate that you saw it, right? What was the sort of like, ooh, let's dig a little deeper. And here's another thing I want the audience to know is Cami always says to me, wonderful, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm not an expert, but I kind of am because I have studied this thing down to the bone that the only thing missing is the extra letters next to your name, right? But this is her specialty, and you're really good at. When she started explaining to me her knowledge, I was like, oh my gosh, you just made me understand something that seems so convoluted and hard to say in layman's words, right? Because what doctors will tell you is that this way. I'm like, okay, I get all that. But you were able to really express it in a way that I can understand. Again, only thing missing in Cami's world is all the letters that go behind it, but she really is an expert in her own experience of this journey of health and wellness. So take us there.
Okay. Well, again, that journey of, okay, how can I help my daughter? And recognizing early on that I give a ton of respect for people in the medical field, Western medicine, hospitals, nurses, doctors, ton of respect. I don't want to diss them in any way, but I do believe that their tools are limited by pharmaceuticals and their training, even universities.
And their industry in general.
Funded by pharmaceuticals. And I have the belief that, and again, this comes to my faith thing, like we're a unit. We are, when we're born, we're perfect. We don't have medicines to be plugged into us, and we don't have a need for that to be healthy. That's my worldview. And so I work from, okay, how do I help my cells be healthier? And it is like, how do we get to be healthier? Let's move towards health instead of, that saying, you get more of what you focus on. It works with health too. It works with your mental health. It works with your emotional health. It works with your body. And so, so many different directions we could take this, but my journey of learning helped me understand more about our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And that controls your whole body, all of the systems in your body. Your stomach digesting. Did you think about your stomach needing to digest food today? Most people don't. You're not like, okay, pancreas, create the insulin right now. Okay, now you're not thinking about that.
It's just functioning.
That is your parasympathetic nervous system working in the background, doing what it's supposed to do. Your sympathetic nervous system is more of your conscious, more of the emotions, more stress. If we didn't get up and have those goals to do, we wouldn't accomplish anything. We need to run from the tiger a little bit, right? Or we'll be not able to survive. So there's that, but the systems have to be in balance. And I'm finding in all of us, if we don't give both systems a chance to work in our body and thrive, then we don't have health. And so that's where, it's like God gave us a circadian rhythm. We have a nighttime and a daytime, right? During the day, we have to get up and run from the tiger. We have accomplishments. We have things we need to do. We've got to feed the family. We got to eat. We got to do this. We got to do that, right? Or we get to all of those wonderful things, right? But if we don't take the time to rest and digest and get really great sleep and enjoy relationships and create and write the book, create the painting, decorate the room. If we don't have those things, this is the space where our body is detoxing. This is the space where our brain is reordering our world, and we're stepping back from the stress and gaining perspective. And that, if we don't have that, it makes our hormones all wackadoo. Because if we live in this world will go, okay, I'll just be quiet over here. And I guess you're running from the tiger still, so I'm not going to digest your food. Guess you don't need sleep right now because you got to keep running from the tiger. Okay, we'll just tuck this toxin away in your liver. Okay, all right, well, we'll just tuck this away. Okay, well, just one more push of adrenaline. Okay, sorry, you're out of adrenaline. Oh, okay, one more push of your female hormones. Okay, well, I guess, okay, you're out of that. Okay, so now, if you stay in this, we don't have health. And so that's why the holistic approach, instead of going, oh, my heart won't stop beating, or my blood pressure is too high, or this, I'm going to go see my cardiologist for this, and my psychologist for this, and this, and this. I'm like, whoa, big picture, girl. Let's take a big picture approach first.
Yeah.
That's my journey to it's just been a lifelong passion of helping and growing and reading. I'm all about personal development. I'm listening to Audible books all the time. Personal development and health and wellness and faith. It's all that's
all the dots connect eventually. All the dots connect for you. And your life experiences has actually given you the sort of the right to go in that direction because you have seen it firsthand. It's your firsthand experience of like, wait, hold on. If we have a harmonious situation internally, then these are all the things. And what's interesting is when I first met you, so there's this book out there called Power versus Force, and it talks very much about the study of our human vibrational existence. And it says that our what it says in there is they tested up to 12 feet around us is our energy force. It's how we show up in the world before we talk or whatever. And my first experience of that energy force with you was so vibrant, like this bold color, like what you're wearing, this bold blue of like, this person is here for sunshine. Like, people, we're going to get some smiles out of you. We're going to get some energetic emotions out of you. And I feel like so much of, like, I listened to this thing called the master class where there's all these brilliant humans sharing their own journey to their successes. And they have a synonymous language. People who are very high performing, high achieving, have this very common denominator of, we don't just push to get there. We don't force. We stop, evaluate who we are, see how our world connects the dots for us to be there, how much growth can really come from this time in our lives. And, so there's this idea that you have a say in how you co-create or how you create, right? As well as also giving all the kudos to the greater force that is out there.
Absolutely.
And you really represent that as an energetic human when you first came up. So what I really wanted to talk to you, but then it was this extra added story of like, you actually do live it. You've experienced it. You're not just going around the world smiling and high-fiving everybody. It's because it's your personal experience of what you've been through. So then take us to this place where you're lifelong learner, you love all of this. You have 4 kids, and are you a single mom in this experience? Because the reason I want to share this is there's an assumption of, well, if you believe in God, everything should be perfect. And everything is put together in this manner of like, I just bought a gingerbread house from the store and I'm going to put it together kind of thing. So tell us then what happens once you figure out like, holy moly, there's got to be a harmonious balance happening inside the human being. But your actual life might not be representing that. So what happens?
Right. Well, and then part of that is, so I became a single mom when I had 4 teenagers under my roof. So from 12 to 17. But behind me is a painting that I did through that season. Some of my favorite paintings are the ones that I did under stress and duress. So I had learned healthy habits to help shift my own run from the tiger stress, to I need no. I need to paint right now. No, time out. I need to paint right now. And it became a refuge for me. So through that season. And so on top of this, wonderful, I didn't have a career. My dream was to be a wife and a mom. And that's a little bit underrated in our culture. And it was when I was little. I remember walking up to one of my teachers when we had to go up to her and she wanted us to tell her what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I said, I want to be a wife and a mom because I had a great example. And I'm so thankful for that. Right. But that's what I wanted. And she looks at me with pity, like, honey, you can do that, but you can do so much more. And I'm like, okay, but why isn't that good enough?
Yeah. Right.
So anyways, I have my 4-year degree in business. I was in the careers. I did my thing. Then we got married and I wanted to be home with my babies. And I took great pleasure in that and was thankful I could do that. But that did set us up for like, oh, shoot, now.
Yeah. Single mom.
Now, what do I get to be when I grow up now? Because the growing up is happening. So what I found was I was coaching my kids in the ways that they were supposed to go. And each kid is individual and learning about them, who they are, helping them with their health and wellness, helping them make great decisions. But I couldn't do it for them. And I was on the same journey myself going, okay, what am I good at? What do I love to do? And all the things. And so, but that I had some healthy habits. I can't say there wasn't perfection, but some healthy habits, some lifelong learning What am I passionate about? And when I learned about coaching, I was like, oh, that's a thing. That's a thing. I could do that. That's wow. Okay. And so then I got my certification in coaching. And I was still raising my kids. I still had a couple of kids in high school, still was, doing the mom thing with layering this on and building it slowly and debt free. Then, quite a few years after my marriage, I met somebody and we developed a very sweet friendship. And he was a chiropractor and also interested in health and wellness. Of course, that was his whole career built around helping people to get better naturally. We just totally vibed. And so I'm still coaching, but I have this brand new baby business, have a couple of clients. I've got my website and all these things. And then he had a major heart attack at the gym. Nobody came to his aid for a long time.
The gym? And no one came? Oh,
it was post-COVID crap. Everybody was afraid of touching, everybody was afraid of germs. And the people who worked there didn't have, I don't know, they just weren't paying attention. Anyways, and it was one of those really challenging heart attacks called a widowmaker. So, yeah, it was bad. So, that all being said, that put me on a different journey. And again, here's my faith, where my faith and wellness and career and it all comes together, because my spousal support and child support was going to be ending in 2 months. So I had to get it together and make sure that my baby business was going to launch.
Yeah. And
support, right? My
Yeah.
support was going away. And then my friend had his heart attack, and then it just gutted me. And so I was like, I was doing my coaching calls from the hospital lobby. Like I was making it wasn't super busy, but I had some, but I was at the hospital for 10, 12 hours a day. And so I woke up in the middle of the night a few days after his heart attack and in the middle of the night when you wake up and you're like, I don't need to pee. Why am I awake?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess, okay, if I don't need to pee, I must need to pray. So, and I was like, okay, God, I'm here. I'm listening. Is there a reason you woke me up? Because I really could use the sleep right now, obviously. And he goes, and it was so clear, it was almost audible. He goes, I'm taking care of you. And I was like, thank you. Is there anything I need to do or shift or change for that to happen? And he just repeated it in my mind, in wherever, in my being. He just repeated it more firmly. I'm taking care of you.
Wow.
And if I didn't believe that was God, I could not have made it through the next year and a half journey until he went to heaven, because it was brutal, the most difficult season of my life. And so that journey, having a front row seat in Western medicine with someone who I could not make his healthcare decisions because I wasn't his fiance, I wasn't his wife, I wasn't his,
like a power of attorney.
Yeah. And his kids swooped in. They didn't know about our relationship. They didn't know about me yet. They didn't, all of those things. So his kids swooped in, treated me horribly, and made him
On top of that.
there. Yeah. They weren't there for their dad, emotionally, physically present. And so that was, again, more training ground and more opportunity. And that shifted my coaching from just basic life coaching to, okay, we really truly need to help people, empower them, give them tools. So when somebody's sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they don't know what's going on with their hormones, and they're not getting answers that make sense to them from their regular doctors, I'm here. I think outside the box. I've done a ton of studying. I've been on both sides of it, but I'm here to empower people and give them tools that maybe they hadn't thought about before.
Well, now, it really puts into a larger picture the big perspective of Godfidence. Now it makes more sense of why that came to you in that way, because I think that's the other piece that we as human beings try to avoid, right? Because we don't want to have conflicts with other people, because again, everybody has an opinion about everything. So you're trying to avoid conflict, but really, there's this really famous line that says, good girls never made history.
Yeah.
Right? Because the truth is, in order for us to be a disruptor, we can't be in a safe space. Disruption is about shaking up the status quo of what has been known. Like 100 years ago, there was no. What I read this thing about how retirement wasn't even a thing 100 years ago. There was people didn't retire, and what came about retirement is because people who were doing their jobs were doing it so well that when young people started getting into the age of the workforce, there wasn't any work because there was no need for them. Because the people that were doing the work were doing it so well at 50, at 60, at 70. So to alleviate this conundrum of a bunch of young 20-year-olds running around causing havoc because they can't get a job, is they enforced retirement.
Interesting.
So they gave an age, like when they did the study of like, when would be the most appropriate time to get people off of the workforce, they came up with 60 because there was this fine line of 60, they're still young enough to go do something else, but also the perfect time where they've done the work a long period of time that they can train somebody.
Right.
Entry level. And when I read that, I thought, look at that. 100 years ago, people didn't even know the word retirement, right? They didn't, that wasn't even part of our language or the way we existed, because we have to be able to disrupt the status quo. And thank you for being such a disruptor, because I feel like we midlife women, although we are a small group, but we are mighty and fierce. It is a big responsibility to get out there and have these conversations and be loud enough for people to hear that it's not just based on our opinions, or it's really based out of experience, knowledge, wisdom, common sense.
Yeah.
Right. And backed with a lot of facts, like factual pieces. So, and I think that's a really big piece. But let me ask you this. Let me not get to, as we're getting near the end of our conversation, the question I ask all of my guests, because there's just so much to unpack, and we could have 2 more hours of conversation about this, because I feel like we barely scratched the surface. Maybe we'll get you back on. But we've been going 40 minutes now. But anyhow, if you're walking down the street, you walk into a coffee shop and you see 25-year-old Cami, what would you say to her that she would actually listen to? Knowing your life experience and the wisdom that you have so beautifully attained at this point in your life.
I think 25-year-old Cami was pretty cool. I think of myself pretty kindly when I look back. But something that I learned probably later, and I think during my journey with my divorce, is a question that I asked myself. And had I learned that earlier, maybe could have saved myself from some additional hurts or some, or made life better somehow. But that all being said, I'm thankful for the journey that I've been on, because it made me who I am. So I treat that with kindness. But the questions that I asked myself during my divorce was, what does love look like? It took me reading a book called Boundaries twice. My version of what I thought love looked like and was, and how I was behaving. And then concepts of, okay, we have this relationship and it's breaking apart. What does love look like as it breaks apart? Or what do I need? And then also establishing boundaries. I didn't know what that looked like. I can't say that I was a doormat or anything like that, like really being used and abused, but I didn't use my voice to speak the truth, my truth in love. And I think had I been able to speak my truth in love, speak up a little bit more, I don't know, maybe that she would have listened to that.
I want to say it in this really big, powerful way but I don't know if I have the words. I think that is the most beautiful experience in our wisdom today that we can offer to our younger selves is this. It doesn't matter what our experiences were or how much heavier your trauma was and how much lighter yours was. Self-love requires none of that. But we didn't know it. And so we gave it we didn't allow it to belong within us. And it kept us kind of in a whirlwind of lost fog or whatever in your lives. And granted, I agree with you. Everything I experienced has brought me to who I am today. And I am so grateful for that. But I also think that no matter whether I would have had the self-love that I have now then, I'm pretty sure I would have still had to experience challenges and traumas. It wouldn't have been as a punishment to me. I would have accepted it more from a space of love versus punishment and fear. And I truly believe that the outcome would have still been the same. I would still be the version I am.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think that was the self-love. I think of it as Godfidence, honestly.
Yeah.
Had I not had that experience of Hell Week, really truly, had I not chosen to believe and had different trials and tribulations through the seasons, but that prepared me for that season when Alan had his heart attack, and it really truly was the most difficult season of my life, and yet I had calm in the eye of the storm.
That's it right there.
Right?
Yeah.
It was that every day was bigger than me. But that was my strength, and my lifeline was
Yeah.
being able to speak the truth in love, all of the lessons I had learned. So it was interesting.
Well, I see it, a person looking from the outside, not being Cami, but experiencing Cami. I can say thank you. And I appreciate that intentional rebelliousness in you to do the Godfidence, because I think we also aim for this authenticity. We just talk about it so freaking much, but really authenticity has no description other than being the version of you that's you, right? It's not a describable, definitive, it's in the dictionary. This is what authenticity means as a human being. But because you were that rebel within yourself of like, even with all the beautiful experiences you had with your amazing parents and all of that, right? You were still the version of you that existed so that you can share it with us today, so that I can be like, because it's permission giving. You've just given me permission to keep standing in my truth. And that's not easy. It's not always easy. It's not always hard either, but it is something we avoid because we want to always be a part of the human race and belong. And that sometimes the belonging is the hardest part to be accepted, because you have to kind of be a rebel to be accepted.
Yeah. And don't we look up to each other when we're willing to stand up and again speak the truth in love. I can't say the in love part strong enough, but speak the truth in love. And our version of truth has different colors and different nuances throughout, depending on what our experiences have been. But that's how we grow. That's how we learn from each other.
Yeah. And like I said, we could talk for hours because I feel like we've not even had the whole thing. So I want to honor everybody's time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cami, for the light that you are, the energy that you bring to the table, and the wisdom that you impart on us. And thank you for just being the most owned human that you can be. And if this episode in any way of you listeners out there like, wow, valuable. Share it. Share this. Share this with anybody you know that can really gain some relatability, value, understanding of their experiences. Share it with everybody. Follow us on our social media. All of Cami's information will be in our show notes so that you can hunt her down and help you get with her program of holistic wellness. And again, I am here to help the conversation grow into the bigger piece of owning our truth in our midlife and sharing all our wisdom. So until next time, everyone, thank you so much. Cami, any last thoughts before we go?
I just want to encourage anyone out there, if they're feeling anxious or feel like the world is coming down on them, just ground yourself in goodness and love and faith.
And reach out.
And reach out.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye. Thank you so much for being with me on today's journey. If you felt something resonate, if you saw yourself in this conversation, please take a moment to subscribe. Share it with a friend who needs this space and leave a review. It helps others find us, and it's a small way you can be a part of this powerful movement. Ladies, this isn't just a podcast. It's a community, a revolution, a place where midlife women come together to embrace our hard-earned wisdom and vibrant truth. So thank you for being part of this. Remember, it's time. It's time to step into our truth. No more holding back. Midlife is ours to own, and it's only getting started. So until next time, take a breath, honor your journey, and live with audacity, courage, and joy. This is our time, our truth, unraveled, revealed, and celebrated.